Go.
If a sheriff was found in the temple, a Kohen may remove it with his sash, so as not to prolong the presence of the tomb of contamination. These are the words of Yochanan ben Broka. Rabbi Yehuda says, with wooden tongs, so as not to increase the contamination. From where do we remove it? From the temple, the antechamber, and between the antechamber and the altar. These are the words of Rav Shimon ben Anas. Rabbi Kiva says the area for which one occurs karas for an intentional transgression, and a sin offering for an unintentional transgression, and from there we must remove it, but all the areas we cover with a pot. Reb Shimon says, wherever the sages have granted dispensation, they have given you what is yours, where you have not permitted except for that which is a rabbinical decree.
Yeah. Adrenaline. Ervin.
Erevin, almost. Okay. And now we go to Pesachim, and then we go back to Erevin.
Yep.
Okay. Second, we have Aleph Gimel. Rabbi
Aleph.
Yehuda said,
Aleph.
I'm sorry?
Aleph. Aleph.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. I put it in the wrong place. I was doing your part again.
Yeah.
Okay. The evening of the 14th of Nisan, we went search for the chametz by the light of the candle, and any place into which the chametz is not brought, we do not require a search. So why have the sages said 2 rows of a wine cellar must be searched? The Chachamim were referring to a place in which chametz is brought. Beit Shammai says 2 rows over the entire front of the wine cellar must be searched, but Beis Hillel says the 2 outer rows, which are the uppermost. We need not be, oh, sorry, I think I skipped the page. Yeah. We need not be concerned that a weasel may have dragged chametz from house to house or from place to place, for if so, then we would have to be concerned from courtyard to courtyard, from town to town, and there would be no end to the matter.
Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Bodkin or Arba Asar, Uba Arba Asar, Shachris Uba Shasa Biur. Okay, so nothing's terribly controversial at first. We need to check on the night of the 14th, and if you failed to check on the night, and check on the morning of the 14th, and all the way up to the time of getting rid of chametz.
Right.
But Rabbi Yehuda stops there. He doesn't want you to go looking for chametz anymore after that if you forgot. So because maybe he'll find chametz and he'll come to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
Chachamim say no. If lo badak or al bar asar, if you forgot on the night, then you've dok ba'arba asar, then you should do on the day. Lo badak ba'arba asar, you've dok b'soch hamoed. Then he should carry on checking. Even the time as soon as he remembers, even if it's chol hamoed, he should still go and check. Lo badak b'soch hamoed, you've dok la'achar hamoed. And even if he forgot during Pesach, he needs to go and check after Pesach for anything that he kept over Pesach, because there's an issur to eat any chametz shavar alav Pesach.
Would this be considered a chiddush?
Huh?
Would this be considered a chiddush, doing during Hol Moed or anything?
Well, not well. I mean, it's the argument that they're having with Rabbi Yehuda.
Right, right.
Rabbi Yehuda
This
doesn't
is
want you to go looking because he's afraid you might come to eat it if you find it. And
right,
the whole point of you looking is you looking to get rid of it. So
right,
he's
right.
not going to suddenly have a brain meltdown and say, "Oh wait, why was I looking for chametz again? I can't remember, but you know what? I think I'll eat this now." If you're
Right,
looking for it, you're looking for it to get rid of it. So,
right, right.
so
Okay.
nobody's going to have a meltdown like that. Okay. So getting back to the night of the 14th, if you find stuff that you want to keep it like on the side in a on a for the next day, so that you don't have to go checking after it again. So by the time you finished your check on the night of the 14th, any chametz that you have, you know where it is.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. Rabbi Meir Omer, Ochlin kol chamesh v'sorfin betchila. Okay, so first of all, the background to this is that min haTorah, chametz is only aser from noon on the 14th. Okay.
Okay.
And up until then, the Torah doesn't make a distinction between grades of Isser, like you can't eat it, you can't benefit from it, and now it's kares or whatever. It goes straight into from Torah law up until noon. You're allowed to eat, benefit, do whatever you want with chametz, and the next moment, boom, you're into kares territory. Okay, so Chachamim, of course, made a gezerah on that. And Rabbi Meir said that gezerah goes up to the beginning of the fifth hour, up to the end of the fifth hour and the beginning of the sixth hour. Okay, so you can eat everything up until the end of that fifth hour. Besorfin betchilas sheish, and that's when you have to burn. Rabbi Yehuda
But
Omer, huh? Rabbi Yehuda Omer.
because of the calendar we have now, we have different times. We don't wait till noon.
Well, it's because of this Mishnah.
But
This Mishnah it tells it's not because of our calendar. It's because of the Gezer Darbanan that we know if we know which day is erev Pesach, and what they're having an argument of is how much is the Gezerah that to protect you from coming all the way to noon.
okay.
Okay? Uh, and so Rabbi Meir says, look, by the fifth hour, everyone can tell it's in the fifth hour, everyone can tell it's morning. Nobody's going to get confused. In the sixth hour, agreed, the sun's high, you can't tell exactly which is noon and which is not. But the fifth hour is safe. Rabbi Yehuda says, nah, Ochlin kor arba. We only allow you to eat for the first 4 hours. Because what happens if it's a cloudy day and people are starting to estimate where the sun is, and
Mhm.
it comes to a problem. It's 4 hours. The tolin kol chamesh, and in the fifth hour, it's suspended. You don't have to burn yet, but you can't eat anymore, and you could still benefit. Like you could still give it to your animals. You could still give it to you sell it to a goy. The sorfin betchilas sheish, and from the sixth hour, then you definitely have to burn,
Okay.
and that is the halacha is like Rabbi Yehuda.
I could never understand why I lived in the States. Like if you went, to the for go to a food store or something, people would lines out the door to go to the bagel store. I couldn't understand what the big deal was. All right, so you're not having bagels. But I couldn't. Maybe it's my thing.
Are you
I
talking
just
about on Erev Pesach or Motzei Pesach?
this the day when you're supposed to eat up until a certain time when you're supposed to eat and burn and all.
Oh, they were
It was
going in the
crazy.
morning. They were going to get bagels.
Yeah, they would
Ah,
sit in the bagel store and eat.
cram in your last chametz.
I can understand that.
No, I mean,
Although,
over here on Erev Pesach night, you just hear the motorcycles going around the town delivering pizza.
right, I know. And the same when Pesach is over. I know someone who was very upset because they were the second one on the list. I really want to be the
Oh,
first one.
oh, there was a story. There was a story in South Africa on the last day of Pesach. Um, a rabbi was walking to shul for mincha on the last day of Pesach, and he caught a whiff of some delicious bread, and he thought, "Ah, can't wait until after Pesach." And then he realizes he's walking past the kosher bagel store, and he takes a
Oh, wow.
and they were getting a head start on baking stuff on Pesach still.
They can't do
They lost
that.
the extra.
Wow. Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, they can't do that. They have to wait.
Okay.
Good for the rabbi. Okay.
Yeah. ועוד אמר רב יהודה, שתי חלות של תודה פסולוס מונחס על גג האצטבה. So here we have there was a public display to make sure that everyone was on the right page. So this was during the time of the temple. Shibane b'meher v'yameinu, that they had they would put out in a public place so everyone could see on the itztaba, which is like the top of a column, two chalos of a that came from a korban toda that became pasul, so they shouldn't go to waste, right? Okay, but you could use them as a public display. So while there are two out there, everyone knows kola am ochlin. As long as they're out there, everyone knows that it's safe to eat. Nitla achas, as soon as one got taken in, everyone saw, oh my gosh, they've taken in the one challah. Now it's time to stop eating. V'lo ochlin, v'lo sorfin. They wouldn't get burned. Nitlu shtehen, once the second one was taken in, his chilu kol am sorfin. That's when all the bonfires started. Rabban Gamliel omer chulin nechalin kol arba. Now Rabban Gamliel comes and says there's a distinction made between chulin and truma. He says everything that you're saying is right about chulin, but truma they allowed them to eat for 5 hours. V'sorfim b'tchilas sheish. He said because we don't want to bring if there's chametz of truma, we don't want to burn it unnecessarily. So they gave them an extra hour to burn everything. But the halacha does not follow Rabban Gamliel. There's no distinction the halacha between truma and chulin as far as burning for Pesach.
I might have told you the story before when we did this thing in where I used to live, not in Far Rockaway, before that. But we would go to Young Israel Daven, and then we'd be walking home.
Yeah.
That was the day that they used to throw samples of Cheerios and other cereal on the people's lawns. Whoever, I don't know, the delivery man, they those samples. They had, bags and bags. And everyone's looking at the same thing, but we just cleaned up everything.
Um,
Uh, can't win. Okay, we are back in Erevin, and we are on Chetes. If a courtyard is less than 40 amos, we may not pour water into it on Shabbos, unless they make a pit, which can hold 2 saw below the opening, whether on the outside or the inside, except that on the outside he must cover it, whereas on the inside he need not cover it. Eliezer ben Yaakov said, if a drainage conduit is covered by 4 amos in the public domain, we may pour water into it on the Sabbath. But the comments say, even if it runs along a roof or a courtyard for 100 cubits, we may not pour into the opening of the conduit. But he pours from roof to roof, and the water descends into the conduit. A courtyard and a colonnade combined to the total of 4 cubits. Similarly, 2 balconies that are opposite one another, if some of them made a pit while others did not make a pit, those who made a pit are permitted, but those who did not make a pit are prohibited. Okay.
okay. Shabbos.
And over here, Shabbos. Okay. The base Aleph. A cask which was broken, we may save from it enough food for 3 meals. And one may say to the others, come and save for yourselves. However, he did not soak it up with a sponge. We may not press fruits to extract juice from them. And even if they flow it out by themselves, they are prohibited. Rabbi Yehuda says if they were intended for food, the juice that flows from them is permitted. But if they were intended for juice, what flows from them is prohibited. Honeycombs, which one crushed before Shabbos, and the honey which flowed out by itself are prohibited. But Elazar said Praho permits them. Anything that was put in hot water before Shabbos may be soaked in hot water on Shabbos. But anything that was not put into hot water before Shabbos may be rinsed in hot water on Shabbos, except old salted fish, small salted fish, or Spanish mackerel, because the rinsing completes their preparations. Okay. One more, right?
Yes, one more.
Person may break over the cask to eat dried figs from it, provided he does not intend to make a vessel. We may not perforate the bung of a cask. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. The sages are permitted, but one does not perforate it on its side. If it was perforated, one may not place wax upon it because he smooths it. Says Rabbi Yehuda, an incident came before Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai in Arab, and he said, I fear on his account that he may be liable for a sin offering. Okay. Ma'aser Sheni. Okay, Ma'aser Sheni. Gimel Vav. If produce's work has been completed, passed through Yerushalayim, its Ma'aser Sheni must be brought back and eaten in Yerushalayim. If its work has not been completed, baskets of grapes to the press or baskets of figs to the drying place, Beit Shammai says that Ma'aser Sheni must be brought back and eaten in Yerushalayim. But Beis Hillel says it may be redeemed and eaten anywhere. But Shimon ben Yehuda says in the name of Reb Yossi, Beit Shammai and Beis Hillel did not disagree concerning Ma'aser Sheni produce whose work has not been completed, that it may be redeemed and eaten anywhere. About what did they disagree? About produce whose work has been completed. Beit Shammai says that Ma'aser Sheni must be brought back and eaten in Jerusalem, and Beis Hillel says it may be redeemed and eaten anywhere, but the Mai may be brought in and taken out and redeemed. If a tree stands inside but inclines to the outside, or stands outside and inclines to the inside, what faces the wall inward is considered inside, and what faces the wall outward is considered outside. Oil presses whose entrances are inside, but their interiors are outside, or their entrances are outside and the interiors are inside, Beit Shammai say all is considered inside. But Beis Hillel says what faces the wall inward is considered inside, and what faces the wall outward is considered outside. The chamber is built in the holy part and opening in the non-holy. Their interior is non-holy, but their roofs are holy. Built in non-holy and opening into holy, their interior is holy, but their roofs are non-holy. Built in the holy and the non-holy and opening into the holy and non-holy, their interior and roofs above the holy toward the holy are holy, above the non-holy and toward the non-holy are non-holy.
Okay.
Okay. I need a now Vav base. Similar to this, every earthenware vessel that lets in liquid lets out liquid. There could be an earthenware vessel that lets out liquid but does not let in liquid. Every limb has a fingernail, has a bone, but there can be a limb that has a bone but does not have a fingernail. And every object that contracts treading tumor contracts a quartz tumor, but there can be an object that contracts quartz tumor but does not contract treading tumor. Everyone who is eligible to judge capital cases is eligible to judge monetary cases, but there can be someone who is eligible to judge monetary cases but is not eligible to judge capital cases. Everyone is
That's it. No, we're done. That's
one more.
Mishnah.
Everyone who is fit to judge is fit to testify, but there can be someone who is fit to testify but is not fit to judge.
Sorry, you're right. Yeah, but sorry, that is the end of the Mishnah. Beg your pardon.
Charas.
Hmm.
Okay, Dalil tests. If one is suspected of sabbatical year violations, we may not purchase from him flax, even combed, but we may purchase from him thread or braided ropes. If one is one suspected of selling truma as ordinary produce, we may not purchase from him even water or salt. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon says, whatever has a connection to truma and maisa, we may not purchase from him. One who is suspected of sabbatical year violations is suspected of transgression of the laws of maisa, and one who is suspected of maisa violations is not suspected of sabbatical year violations. All right. One who is suspected of both of these violations is suspected of transgressing the laws of Tahara. But in some cases, one who is suspected of Tahara violations is not suspected of violation of this one or of that one. This is the rule. Whoever is suspected of something may neither judge nor testify concerning it. One more. All disqualified offerings may be sold in the market, slaughtered in the market.
No, that's it. That's it. We're done.
That was it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And get it. Base. If what was written by day and signed by night, or written by night and signed by night, or written by night and signed by day, it is valid. If it was written by day and signed by night, it's void. Reb Shimon, however, validates it, for Reb Shimon used to say all documents were written by day and signed at night are void except for Gittin. We write it with anything, with ink, with orpiment, and with red pigment, or gum, or ferrous sulfite, or with anything which is lasting. But we do not write with liquids, nor with any fruit juice, nor with anything which is not lasting. We write it upon anything on the leaf of an olive tree or on the horn of a cow, and he gives her the cow or the hand of the slave, and he gives her the slave. Rabbi Yosef the Gamliel says, we do not write it on a living creature nor on food. We do not write it on something attached to the ground, and if he wrote it on something attached to the ground and then detached it, completed it, and gave it to her, it is valid. Rabbi Yehuda validates it unless in writing and completion are done with it and is detached. Rabbi Yehuda ben Sarah says we do not write it on paper which has been erased, nor on unfinished parchment which can be forged. And the Chachamim say, however, we validate these. Okay. I want to thank you for your invitation to the wedding. I don't know if we'll be here.